The Midday Show, live on QBS.
Joining us today is a very special guest, Sheikh Faisal Abdullah Faisal Thani, a civil defense officer at the Ministry of Interior. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. So today, he's here with us to share important fire safety tips and raise awareness about how we can all stay safe, especially during the summer season. So welcome to the show, Sheikh Faisal. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's okay. So I'm just going to get straight into it.
Of course.
Now, to start off, could you tell us a bit about the role of the civil defense in Qatar and how your team works to keep the community safe?
So, as a civil defense officer, our first priority is always the safety of the people, no matter what the case being, no matter what emergency it is, and how we could try to always prevent an emergency from happening. So, from our first trainings in our fire stations are usually like equipment checks and that basic stuff. So to make sure our crew is trained for what's to happen. So we usually do scenarios to practice for what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of our most
So what kind of trainings? How would you? How often do you do these scenario trainings?
So almost daily, we do these, and as a good training we'd like to do inspections on the buildings in our area. So, for example, in a different fire station near Salal, we'd like to inspect probably Festival City Mall to see if it's fit to withstand an emergency, or if it's safe,
if the fire alarms are working and things like that.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
check
that's
on the smoke
great.
alarms and
do they work?
Of course.
Okay,
It's up to code, yeah.
Amazing, that's great. What are some surprising ways that summer heat and activities lead to fires that we might not think about?
So during the summer heat is the most time we get our emergency calls. Usually it's because of unattended cars in the heat, for people leaving aerosol cans, hand sanitizers. Hand sanitizers even, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's because of the alcohol base usually.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also unattended lighters also in cars, because cars are in this heat usually turn into a microwave.
They do. And unfortunately, we do have a large number of smokers.
Exactly.
So lighters tend to be left in cars.
Yes.
They drop it and they forget about it.
Yeah, usually they get lost between the car seats, yeah.
I see that. If a fire starts, what are the immediate steps that we should take in the first few minutes before the firefighters arrive? And, are there any, key do's and don'ts that we should do?
Okay, so it's almost obvious to point out is you should try to stay calm, of course.
Difficult, but yeah.
Difficult, yeah, of course, but please try to do your best doing that. And after that, always be sure to, if you have other people around, be sure to call 999 as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also important to say, if it's a small fire, you should always try to specify what the fire is, and if you could find a nearby fire extinguisher, if you are trained to do so, which I recommend everybody to get trained in. It's not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, if it's usually like a spontaneous fire and you don't have any control over it, you should try to evacuate the building and all of its tenants, and be sure to call 999 and be sure to give as much detail as possible, and we'll be there inshallah in 5 minutes. Yeah.
That's a good call time, 5 minutes.
5 minutes to 10 minutes is usually our call time. Depends on the traffic, of course, but that doesn't stop us usually.
That's great. That's really, really great to know. I think we're getting off to a really, really great start. So can you tell us and our listeners who don't know, like myself, how do we use a fire extinguisher?
So usually fire extinguishers do come with a set of instructions, and they are pretty much the simplest thing to use. Mm-hmm. They try to make it as simple as possible, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, there are different types of fire extinguishers, but they almost all work the same.
Mm-hmm.
So when you first grab a fire extinguisher, you're supposed to pull a yellow pin. So that's sets the fire extinguisher and it's ready to be activated.
Mm-hmm.
And of
then
course,
do we just push down on the?
not necessarily. So usually you point the nozzle towards the fire,
Okay.
and you maintain a certain, not exactly a certain
Pressure.
way of standing. So usually just point the nozzle, and then you can push the lever.
Okay.
So
point and push.
point and push,
Okay.
and just make sure to pull the pin out, and you're pretty much fine.
Okay, great. So, from what I understood from what you said, because I know that there's electrical fire extinguishers and then the regular ones. So, if I have an electrical fire, can I still use the regular extinguisher?
So there's, as I said, 4 kinds of fire extinguishers.
4?
Yes, exactly. Okay.
I only thought there were 2.
Usually they just put 2 in houses, so you don't need to worry about that. So
Okay.
there's a water fire extinguisher, which you don't see as often, and usually is a silver cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
A most common one is the powder
Mm-hmm.
and a foam one. Sorry, and the CO2 one.
Okay.
That's the best. Powder and the CO2 ones are almost the best to use in almost any fire, and electrical fires.
Okay, this is very informative for
Yeah.
me. I really needed to know this. Now, we were speaking earlier about if someone was in a fire, what's the best way to stop it? And you said first thing would be to calm down, right? My first thought would be to use water.
Okay, so that's almost not always the case, of
Okay.
course. So I think the most common fire you get to see is an electrical fire or a kitchen fire.
Mm-hmm.
And both are not that suitable to use water for. Of course, you know that water and electricity don't mix, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And
Water and oil don't mix.
and
either.
water oil don't mix, because oil is the most thing that causes the fires in the kitchen.
Right.
And usually for kitchen fires, I do recommend just using a blanket and or closing a lid if the fire comes from a pot.
Mm-hmm.
But almost never water.
Never water.
Yeah.
Other than a blanket and the pot, what are other items that are best suitable to put out fires?
So, of course, fire does it does use the fire triangle. So the best way to stop a fire is to cut oxygen away from it.
Mm-hmm.
So without oxygen, you have no fire. And usually using a blanket or any other fire deterrent material, you could try to stop. You could try to cover the fire and just stop the fire. Yeah.
What if I was like out camping, barbecuing? Can I use sand?
Sand is also a good deterrent. It does actually cover, same as it does count like as the powder fire extinguisher.
Okay.
But I think you need a bunch more sand.
This is really informative. I really did not know any of this about fire safety. I probably would have burned a kitchen down without this interview. So thank you for this. What are the most common causes of household or workplace fires, and how can people prevent them? And could you share a few practical safety tips with our listeners?
So what I would say the most common thing is, and I can say that for a fact because it happened to me also, is a overloaded power strip. So whenever you connect a cable, and of course you attach a bunch of electrical appliances on them, usually it overloads that one socket.
Okay.
So you gotta like balance it out around the house. So unfortunately, it happened to me during my university days.
Oh no.
Yeah. So,
I think it's happened to a couple of us.
Yeah.
Overloading that one.
Exactly.
Yeah. So could you share a few practical safety tips with us?
So of course you should always balance out your electrical appliances. Please do not overload one. And be sure to turn them off when not used, because of course when they're on, they're always active, and you don't know what also dust or whatever ruins the plug. Exactly.
Okay. It's like I have this constant fear of I know I turned off my hair straightener before I left the house. I know for a fact I turned it off, but I have a constant fear that I didn't, knowing I did. But I'm like, what if it's on? So so we have to turn off all electrical sockets when leaving.
So thankfully, these new appliances usually they come with a breaker. So a breaker, what exactly it usually turns off
the appliance.
Not actually the appliance, the plug itself.
Okay.
So whenever you hear that big crack in your house or apartment, usually it just means that that circuit exactly is turned off.
Okay, and that's how it keeps us safe without us knowing.
Usually, but that's not always the case. So it's always better be safe than sorry.
Okay, I hear you. Now, I want to ask if there are any success stories where community vigilance or quick action helped prevent a major fire incident during the summer that you can share with us.
Of course. Actually, just recently, like almost a week ago, I've been called out to a site of smoke from an old factory. So thankfully that a security guard during his night shift pointed it out, and thank God he was vigilant because it was an electrical fire and it basically like wouldn't stop.
It was just growing.
It would just not stop reigniting after we. It wouldn't stop reigniting. So as soon as we got the call, we got there like ASAP, and we just used our equipment and took out the fire.
Yeah, but if it weren't for him, it could have gotten way worse.
Of course, it was. If he left it unattended, I'm pretty sure the entire factory would have burnt down.
Well, thank God for him. Would you encourage our listeners to act fast in situations like these? Because I know it's not easy to calm down and try to think clearly in this situation.
Exactly.
But would you advise, people to act as soon as they can, whether it's by calling 999 or, attempting to deter the fire themselves?
Exactly. So what I'd always suggest is always don't be afraid to call 999. So there's this like rumor, and if you call 999 on a false call, it's gonna like end up bad for you. That's almost not always the case.
Okay.
It's usually better safe than sorry, as I recall. So no matter what, it's always better to get the call early than late.
Yeah.
So almost at the slightest side of smoke or smell of smoke, you should always call 999, and we'll always be there. No matter
Amazing.
What.
Well, thank you guys for the work that you do. And we're going to answer some of your guys' questions. We've got some really good ones that came in. Now, the first one I want to ask you, Sheikh Faisal, is this listener is asking, how do we keep our cars safe during the extensive summer heat? They prefer to keep their laptops and their electronics in the car, like power banks and things like that. So they said that they're quite forgetful and they don't want to drive back home in case they forgot maybe their laptop or something. So can they keep their electronics in their cars?
Of course, a lot of people would prefer the convenience, yes, but it's always better to be safe. So if you, I wouldn't recommend it, of course, but if you must, I would always recommend it to keep it under a shade, please, not under a direct, not actually under direct sunlight,
right?
Not under the windshield, and
so like in the compartment boxes or things like that.
Exactly, and in the compartment box, because I want you to imagine a big magnifying glass.
Yeah. I mean, our phones already tell us when they're overheating.
Exactly.
So if we were to keep that in the sun, it would.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So there's your answer. Please don't keep them under direct sunlight. We also have a listener who is asking us about perfume in their car, which I would assume it's a big no-no because chemicals, right? Usually
the alcohol base, but perfume is on the safer side other than hand sanitizer, as I mentioned before. But as the same as the electronics, I'd prefer it if you keep it in a compartment
And not under direct
Not under
sunlight.
direct sunlight, of course.
Okay.
Usually just ruins the perfume anyways.
It does,
Yeah.
doesn't it? The scent becomes less. Yeah. What do we do if a car catches fire while driving?
Okay, so I had a couple of calls about this before. So usually, what I'd recommend you do, at the slightest smell or sense of fire, usually like when you smell or see smoke, I'd recommend, if you can, try to pull over on the rightmost lane. And if you absolutely cannot, you should always turn on your danger signal and just stop your car as fast as possible.
Okay.
And absolutely call 999, and we'll be there as fast as possible.
You guys have a really great call time, it seems.
Always depends. There's always a fire station nearby, no matter what.
That's amazing to know. We also have another question, which is, does gas cylinders kept outside shops during summer cause fires?
Usually not, because they are actually pretty safe. And if you could check for a leak if you use the water and soap method. You usually just pour water and soap, see if any bubbles come out, and you could check if there's a leak. But usually it just falls under if you keep it in the shade or not. So I'd always recommend keeping it under the shade if you can.
Yeah.
Or indoors.
I'm getting a theme here.
Yeah.
Everything it has to be kept under the shade.
Of course, yeah. It's almost as safe for you and everybody else.
Now, we also have a listener who is asking if you can tell us an interesting story that you encountered during a shift at the fire station.
So this is a pretty funny one. Usually, one time we got a call, not from
the line,
not from the operator himself, from the guy a factory right next to our fire station, exactly. So he just came sprinting down. He's like, "There's a fire." So
he was like, "I'm not gonna waste time."
Yeah, exactly.
By calling and answering questions. You're right next door, so he came running.
Yeah, exactly. So we just informed the operator during that. So all's well, I guess.
Well, quick thinking.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it probably saved the factory. So good on him.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, is it necessary to have fire extinguishers at home?
Almost always yes. Usually, like if you don't wanna, but you should always have it nearby your kitchen and or a garage. So that, and if you must, I do recommend you put it in either of these two places or both if you can.
Okay, kitchen or garage.
Kitchen or garage and or both, yeah.
Okay. They're asking, what kind of fire extinguisher should we use if a car catches fire?
So usually these cars do come equipped with a fire extinguisher. They're almost all powder. I'm pretty sure they're all powder anyway. But powder is the one that always comes with the car, and it's almost the safest one to use. I think this is the most common one you find anywhere, I think. Yeah.
All right. We're getting a lot of questions. Apparently, a lot of people are concerned about fire safety, and I'm very happy that they are. Don't get me wrong. Very, very happy. So one of the first questions that we have is it safe to use air conditioners without a break, like without giving it a rest?
Usually it is, but I always do recommend if you're leaving the house or leaving your room, I guess you could say, you should try to give it a break sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question that we have is this person is asking what devices to turn off and what can we keep going when they travel for the summer. Let's say they're going for maybe a month. Would it be better to turn off all the appliances, all the electricity in the house?
It's always safe to do so. I do recommend turning off almost everything. You could maybe leave the refrigerator open, running, but it comes down to the power bill in the end. So I do recommend You
It's
try to
best
close.
to turn everything
It's
off.
almost best, yeah.
All right. Another question that we have is, what should we save when there is a fire?
So, of course, yourself and your family, of course, and or roommates, I guess. You could save your cats, yeah, of course. That's
Yeah, I have 3.
yeah, of course, yeah. So the best thing to say is anything living, I guess.
Anything living.
Anything living, yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us like a story about like animals in fires?
So there was a tower fire once, and me and my colleague. So we got so we usually like evacuated the entire building, and we were just outside.
And you thought everything was fine?
Yeah, everything was fine. We were controlling the fire from the outside. Everything was going well, until one of the residents saying, "Oh, they forgot their cat."
So please take your cats with you.
Yeah, so we had to go get the cat.
But was it safe to do so?
Yeah, with all the equipment we had, yeah, it's almost always safe for us.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's very important. Well, I think this is all the questions that we have so far from our listeners. Again, thank you so much, Sheikh Faisal, for being here and being able to help us and advise us and our listeners on what to do.
Of course, it's a pleasure being here.
It's an honor to have you here. Our listeners, like I said, very interested in fire safety, and I'm very happy about that. Is there any last message or piece of advice you would like to share with our listeners before we let you go?
Yes, actually, just always value yourself and be sure to always call 999 in any sense of a fire, exactly.
Or any situation.
Any situation, it doesn't matter. It's always fine. No, don't let the rumors fool you.
Okay, that's amazing to know. Again, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your presence.